We looked at while loops, until loops, for loops. We looked at input redirection. And next up, we will take a look at output redirection too. But before that, let's just review some of the things that we've done. We saw that we can use a while loop and use it in combination with read. And in this case, input redirection, that is, we're using a pipe. That is an output of a command, in this case, a very simple command that just cats the contents of a file that's supplied as an argument. So assuming that the argument to this script is a valid file, this will do something. Make sure that you can read a script like this and figure out exactly what the script will do. And make sure you know what all of this is doing. I is initialized to 1, print it out, bump it up, and so on. Okay, so if you're not sure what this does, probably a good time to review the previous lecture and try out some of the files that we mentioned there. Oops. Okay. So another thing that we can do in addition to redirecting input is to redirect output. And so we can use the echo statement, print something out, not just to the standard out or the screen, but also to a file name. So here's a simple example. What this will do is it will echo whatever the variable I has into a file specified by file name. So of course, if a file with this name already exists, you're going to clobber it when you redirect output. So let's take a look at that. So I have a file. So this was the old file. Make sure you understand what this does. So if you're not sure, definitely try this out. What a cat with the pipe operator in combination with a while loop and a read, what that does. So make sure you understand that. We're going to move on and look at like 11, 17, and we are going to use an until loop with an echo and redirect output to an output file, and at the very end we're going to use append operator to print out one last line. So this is a while loop, an until loop kind that we've seen before. So let's just try this out. Note that I have used the name of a file here, output file. I could have made that an argument, but in this case I just assumed that I'm going to write the output to this particular file. Let's just make sure it doesn't exist. It doesn't. Good. Lec 11-17.sh, and I don't have to redirect output here. It's all done inside the script. I just hit enter and I do an ls. Sure enough, there is a file called output file. Let's cat it, and it contains this list of numbers, just like we've seen in all of those example loops, example scripts with loops in them. Okay, so once again, 17. All it's really doing is counting from 1 to 20, and each time it goes through the loop, it echoes the value of I into the output file. At the very end, I put in a new line. If we did not do this, it's no big deal. It'll just print out a single line of this, and you'll get the prompt right here. So it doesn't look so nice. That's why we put in the one last new line, empty line actually, into the output file. We append that. Okay. So I'm hoping you can try that out, make sure all of these statements make sense. In addition to echo, we can also use printf, which allows better formatting of output strings. If you've used printf in C or Java, it's the same basic idea. There's some slight differences. You don't have to use the parentheses, you can just say printf, and then the format string, and then this means that you'll print out sum as a number, and apples, that's the string apples, is going to be printed out as a string. So it's very similar to the way C and Java uses printf. And the format string usually has the same basic idea. So if you want to do more formatting, that would be the way to go about having a nice formatted file, is to use printf. Maybe it might be simpler than echo. Okay, so here's a slightly more complicated example. The way to look at this is you have a loop in which you do very simple things. You echo a variable and bump it up. But on the other hand, what's happening is you're taking as input the output of this cat command, which is going to list all the contents of whatever is supplied as an argument to this entire script. So you're going to cat the contents of a file, hopefully, assuming that this $1 is, or the first argument to the script is a valid file name. You'll cat it and you will read it. You'll print out I, that is, you'll print out the line number, basically. And then the output of this is sent out to cat. And you want to figure out, well, exactly what exactly does this do? So try it out. I have this file set up, I believe. Let me take a look. Let me just clear this. Clear cat 11 and 18 if you have access to these files. Or if not, just you can take a look, pause the video and take a look at it right here, or it's in the notes. Basically, the rest of this we've seen. You want to figure out, well, what exactly does this do? Okay, so try that out. And I can give you a hint. The way to run this would be, well, first let's see. Let's see the list of files. Let's pick a nice one. I think SCR1 is a good one. Let's just cat it out. Okay. It's a nice file with just 3 lines of text. And we can run this script like 11 hyphen 18 sh scr1 scr1 output. Alright, looks like everything probably worked. Let's cat out scr1 output, and you see that. And so make sure this makes sense. Why does this output file supplied as the second argument to the script have these 3 lines? I'm going to remove these. Alright, so make sure you understand why it worked as it did, what this was doing, and so on. Take a quick look at extracting file names from a path. So let's say you have /user/Gilberg/file1. Everything except for the very last part of this path is considered the dir name, or actually the dir name command gets you everything but the very last thing. And this is something that you can extract from this path using the command base name. So here's a very simple way to use this. You say dir name $pwd. So we can try that out right on the command line. Let's just make sure we have it. Which dir name? Sure enough, there it is. It's a command, a valid command. And if you say dir name and current working directory, it gives me /home/uwrf, which is where I am. Actually, I am currently in /home/uwrf/scripts. So dir name extracted everything but the very last part. Base name will give me the very last part itself. So once again, if I were to echo the whole thing, here's what I have. The current working directory is /home/uwrf/scripts. Dir name gets me everything but the last part. Base name gets me the last part. And it doesn't have to be directories, it can be files too. So dir name and base name work with files. You can do a man on each one of these and get more details. Okay, so and I have a short script that does exactly the same thing. Cat 11 19, and if I were to execute it, and it gives me exactly the same things. So very nice thing to have in a script, because let's say you are given a path, you're supposed to do certain things with it. You can extract out parts of the path or the file names. In this case, we're extracting the very last directory name, but it can work also with files. The last part of this lecture is looking at functions. Functions, as with C functions or Java methods, shell script functions allow a programmer to organize code. So that's really the main reason for using functions. If we find that we replicate code in a program, it's a good indication that we should use a function instead of replicating code. So if you have the same code two places, chances are it's probably better to put that replicated code into a function. So then the question is, how to use functions? Use a very simple function. You just say hello, open close parentheses, and here's the critical part, just like in Java functions, or sorry, Java methods or C functions. Open curly brace, list of statements, and close curly brace. How do you use this? You put this function, usually you put it at the top, and then after that comes sort of the main. You don't have to say that you have a main, there's just automatically everything outside functions is main. And how do you call this? You just put in the name of the function, whatever this is. You don't use parentheses in shell scripts. Okay, so functions are usually placed at the top of the script file. If you have arguments, you can just call them without parentheses. So that's the one big difference between shell script functions and C or Java methods. You don't use parentheses, you just specify the arguments that go in there. And this $1, you might think, well, shouldn't this be the first argument to the script? No, it isn't. It's actually the first argument to this function, and you don't have to specify what types they are. Okay, so function parameters are referred to using the same system as shell script arguments, but the $1 over here refers to the first function supplied to this function itself. How do you return? You just say return. You can call one function from inside another function. So this would be, process would be a function that takes the first argument to this function and runs process. How do you return? You can return 1, that's just the status code. The 1 is the status code. And I have a simple example you might want to take a look at. I'll just cat it out. Okay, so I have the same example as in the notes, and then I have a slightly more complicated example, which I'll have you go look over. The notes pretty much explains how functions work.